Hello and welcome back, everybody. I am Fruit Punch TCG, and today we are going to be going over our purple yellow pudding. This is a phenomenal deck for 08 now that the red purple law is gone from the meta, but it does still struggle against some aggro decks, especially the red Zoro running the chopper package and the animals. It does also struggle a little bit against Calgara if he's able to get a full board out. But outside of that, decks that take things a little slower, like the Bonnie or perhaps Lucci, who relies a lot on KOing your board, you can really steal games away by ramping to 10 and then pelting the opponent with this top end. I'm going to go over just some of the cards here that we're running. We do have Bon Clay at 4. I'm putting this in just in case opponent forces us to go second, as this deck really likes to go first. If opponent makes us go second, on our 2-Don play, we would be playing out our Searchers. And then once we get to 4, we're going to ramp with Leader and then ramp again with this Bon Clay. We do have the Sanjis here as well, as it is a great target to grab off of the pudding if you're not finding any of your Charlotte Flamplays or your 10 moms or your 9 moms. This is just to really help keep that consistency, and it's also a great blocker for the late game in case you need to shell up a bit to stop your opponent from going for lethal. The Charlotte Katakuri is a must in this deck. It is basically the engine for the pudding. If you go first on your 3-Dom play, after you have your 1, of course, maybe playing out a Searcher, you are going to swing with Leader with 3, or play out the Viola for 2, completely depending on what your hand looks like. Once you move into your 6th-Don turn and your opponent had swiped at your life, you're going to take that and then use the Katakuri to flip your life back face down, and then flip it back face up again with the pudding and go to 10 next turn. This is an incredible card to play Big Mom afterwards and just get some really serious aggression and put opponent in a situation where they need to start worrying about your top end. The 9 Mom is great in case opponent gets a little too wide too fast. We'll also see a lot of use in that with our video and matches coming up here. Outside of that, pretty standard Viola, Flampe, Pudding Searcher, 10 Mom, Veggie, of course, we can't forget that. Now here's a little bit of an interesting tech that we're using. We're going to keep 1 Yamato at 9 in case you don't get to 10 and you do sit at 9. This is just another target like the 9 Mom to throw out and try to take care of opponent's board in case it's getting a little too wide for you. And then even then, if you're a little too low, you can also heal from this. And then, of course, with the 10 Ace as well, we know what that does. Just some more top end to really keep things consistent. The Edward Newgate is going to be great as well, just in case you don't see your Katakuri. It's also going to be good if you do end up seeing a You're the One Who Should Disappear once you flip your life over with Leader ability. This is going to become sort of a faux Hiyori. You could use Edward Newgate, find a 10 Mom maybe in life and put it at the top of your deck to draw into next turn. But sometimes more importantly, you can move the You're the One Who Should Disappear event to the bottom of your life and give yourself a lifeline with that. The event is great as well because it does hit the trigger effect. It is a main effect on the trigger, which is great. But overall, I'd say that this is a pretty great deck. You get to go to 10 really fast, and a lot of our cards in our deck make us do that. The only thing that this really struggles against is aggro, but you can sometimes still make it work. I think that the Zoro may not be too oversaturated in the meta, considering the Luccis might kind of keep him at bay. But let's go ahead and run into some games and really showcase what this deck is all about. And our first game today is going to be up against the blue-red Marco. We are going to go ahead and take first here, opponent choosing to go second. I do really like this hand, so I'm actually going to hold on to this, as we do have the Newgate and the Searcher. Go ahead and throw out the Searcher on our 1-Don here, and basically our only target is going to be this pudding. As we bottom deck a couple 2Ks and a Bon Clay, we're going to go ahead and pass back to opponent. Now it's looking like we're going to swing 7 next turn and then use 1 for the pudding. Opponent is going to filter their hand as well with Leader ability and play out the Ezo Searcher of their own and draw themselves a 2K for their troubles. But I do think we have our moves pretty much planned out for us here. We do have some top end as well, which is pretty great. We're going to go ahead and start things off with our own Searcher. We do find a 2K and another 9 Mom or a Sanji to grab from this. I am going to take the Sanji just in case we need to block her up later. because I think we have a pretty good amount of top end currently. I'm going to go ahead and attach 2 here to leader and swing 7 to face using our leader ability. We do see a searcher and another event on life, which is great because we're able to use the new gate next turn for that. So we'll pass to opponent as they had taken that. I do need to remind ourselves that we are playing against a blue deck, and at any point in time, they could hit a pudding of their own and get rid of our great hand here. So something to keep in mind. Opponent is going to use leader ability once again after drawing off of the Sanji's Pilaf, sending another card to the bottom of their deck, and swinging 6 at us. I am going to take this, and I know we are worried about the pudding, but I do want to get our new gate ability off here. I'll go ahead and start by swinging. You know what? No, that was almost a mistake. Let's put out our new gate first, and we're gonna pick a card to put at the top of our life. It would be nice to grab a 2K, so we'll do that, and we'll put You're the One Who Should Disappear at the bottom, and we'll draw into a Katakuri next, keeping the top 2 of our life face down. Now, this is going to get a bit awkward because we're going to flip those face up as well with leader ability just to ramp again. And now opponent sort of knows exactly what they're dealing with here. But that was sort of important for us because we do want to get to 9 next turn and get this 9-drop Big Mom down. So, opponent now on 6. They do have pretty hefty amount of cards in hand. They're going to start things off with leader ability most likely, drawing a card and maybe minusing our new gate by 2 just in case they have an event to get rid of him. They do decide to put another card to the bottom of their deck, just filtering that hand yet again. And we're going to really just see what they decide to do here. I don't want to lose this new gate, so I'm really hoping they don't have a way to get rid of it. They're going to swing 6 into us, and I am going to give them the 2K for this one. I know we were thinking about holding on to that Sanji, but I think keeping ourselves pretty heavily, lifed up in this matchup is a great idea, considering they do have access to rush cards as well. Fortunately for us, they were not able to KO the new gate, and they do play down the blocker Marco that is going to get themselves back if they have 2 or less life, so that's a good thing to remember right now. We do have the 9 Mom on play, so we're going to start things off with a 5K swing from leader at life. And see what opponent wants to do here. They do decide to take it, which now means that their Marco is online, which is most likely what we're going to see next as I swing 7 to face. And they do decide to block. Now, I was considering putting the 9 Mom out first and putting Marco on life and then swinging 7. But it looks like they're not even going to use his ability here anyway. So what I'm actually going to do is play out the 9 Mom, return a Dawn here, get rid of the Searcher Pudding, gain a life, and actually I'm going to not heal them as I don't really care about this Ezo too much. But opponent does have quite the hand on them with 10 cards, so I'm very curious to see what exactly they plan on doing, as next turn we're pretty much just going to play out our Big Mom and get some swings off of board and leader. So once again, starting off with leader ability, they're going to draw a card. Now, what's been very interesting is seeing them putting a lot of cards at the bottom of their deck. That means they're not as stacked as they could be, because they do have the option to place things at the top of their deck with leader ability. So, that kind of tells us maybe they don't have really the best hand with 10 cards. That's definitely what I like to see, because I feel like sometimes the alternative could be a bit much. Now, they do minus our new gate down with the leader ability and swing 8 into him. I don't think this is really worth saving, as I really want to hold on to this counter, so I'm going to let him go. And for 5, we could see something like a blocker come down, but the first thing they'll do is play down that Ezo and then go from there. Now, I think it's great not having to heal them with the 9 Mom. Sometimes you just want to heal yourself and call it a day. They're going to draw a new gate of their own, so that's definitely something to look out for next turn when they go to 10. But again, our life is pretty much planned out for us here. I am going to go ahead and take this as well. I just want to see what resources we're able to get in hand, and we do grab another Katakuri. I'm going to start things off by throwing a 2 at their Ezo. They're not going to give us anything for this. Just to clear out an annoying card like that is pretty great. And then we're just going to do a 5, a 9, and a 10 Mom. Now, the 5 is most likely not going to go through. I doubt the 9 is really going to go through either. They do have a pretty hefty hand, but we do like seeing a 2K for a 5 swing. We'll go ahead and swing 9 into leader next and sort of thin out this hand here. They did have the Rad Beam, but we also got a 2k for our trebles as we're going to play out the 10 Mom, healing ourselves and trashing the top of their life. The great part about that is that we did get the Sanji off of their life trash, which is great because they're not going to set up some crazy top end now. With 1 on leader, they're going to go ahead and draw again, and I think we pretty much know that the other 9 Dawn here is going to be for the new gate to buff their leader up, so that's something to keep in mind, and they're also going to most likely swing into our 9 Mom. But it looks like they had the Sanji anyway. That's unfortunate because now we have a pretty crazy board to deal with next turn. And they're going to swing 8 at our 7. That's a very easy 2k here, and I'll give them that. I do want to keep the aggression down, and we do draw into a 10 Mom, which is awesome. Unfortunately, we won't be able to swipe with leader. I could do things a little differently here. I could just start donning up leader, donning up our 2 big moms, and trying to get lethal off. But with leader being at 7 and then being at 7 cards in hand, I think the safer play is to play this big mom out. I'm going to go ahead and test the waters and throw the 9 into the 7, see if we can get 2 cards away from them, as they'll most likely take the 12. So the great part about this is we're going to drop the big mom, heal, trash their life, and then swing 12 at lead and ask them if they have enough counter for that. And they did not, so looks like a great game for us to really showcase just how awesome this leader is with the top end. We did have 3 Katakuris, and you're the one who should disappear on life. That's another great reason why we've run this new gate, is because, oh, I didn't see my Katakuri when I needed to, but you know what I did see? I saw a way to rearrange my life in such a way to basically put us at 6 life instead of 5 here, because we did have that final lifeline. But GG's to opponent. We're going to go ahead and move into the next game here and show you what else this deck can do. Alright, we do have a game against the blue-purple Reiju. They chose to go first, and we're going second, so we're going to keep this hand as we have the Bond Clay, and we could potentially get the Katakuri out later. The only thing that we're really missing is top end, but I'm a firm believer in that just sort of showing up eventually, so we'll just kind of see if the gamble pays off here. Now, the best thing that this Reiju is going to want to see on their 1 Dawn turn is going to be that stage, but instead they put out the Kaya to filter their hand, putting 2 great cards that they want to see in trash into their trash. So on 2 Dawn, we could decide to take life here with Flampe, do a little looking. We could play out a 2-cost Viola, as we might get swiped into with the 7 and the 5. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play out the Viola and sort my opponent's life. We're going to keep that 4-cost Ichiji at the bottom, as I really don't want them to have that. And I don't mind if they draw into some 2Ks here, so we're going to go ahead and put the Porsche second to last and pass back to opponent. Now, I'm glad that we did that, because the baby Ichiji is going to be pivotal for them to play the 7-cost from trash, so hopefully they don't see another one. They are going to go ahead and play out the Niji KOing our blocker and swinging 5 at us. I am going to give them the 5, and we do get the trigger for the Event Searcher, grabbing us a 9-drop Big Mom for our troubles. Next, we're going to go ahead and move into our 4 Dawn turn here. We're definitely going to go ahead and get value off a leader ability, and we're also going to play out the Bond Clay as well, ramping 2 in 1 turn. That's going to go ahead and put us at 8 the turn after. So starting things off, we're going to go ahead and swing with our leader. Now, I would play out the Bond Clay first, but we did draw into the Searcher Pudding, and I want to use that. So we'll use leader ability and see a event and a Sanji on our life. Most likely opponent would counter out of this. We do know that their next 2 lives are going to be 2Ks, so I'm not really worried about what they get from it. And they're going to have to rely on seeing all of their key pieces from drawing. They do trash a Reiju. Almost all of their great cards are in trash outside of the Niji that they have in play. We are going to go ahead and play out the Bond Clay, ramping us 1. And for the 1, we are going to play out the Pudding, grabbing us a 10 Mom, which we will definitely need later. So we'll go ahead and pass to opponent here. They are at 4 Dawn. We are going to see a hefty swing from Niji, maybe a 7. But they did draw into the Ichiji baby, so we have 3 swings to worry about this turn. The good part about this is we're going to be able to copy the Niji next turn, the Ichiji, and use that 7k base to swing into things. I'm going to go ahead and start us off with a 5k. I am going to give them a card for this. I don't know if I want to give them the Katakuri because we could play that next turn and establish a 7. But I think more importantly, a blocker is definitely going to be in our best interest. So I'll give them 1 here in the form of the Katakuri. Now opponent's going to swing 2. The Veggie's doing nothing in our hand, so we'll give them that 2k as well. And we're going to take the 7 here. Alright, now we do draw into another 0 cost event. We are at 8 Dawn. We're going to use 6 of that for Sanji. So that does leave us 2 Dawn to play with here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to remove this Ichiji as they have 5 cards in hand, and I can see opponent aggressively defending this because that's a great card for them to have. What to do with 2 extra Dawn? I suppose we'll put 1 onto leader and swing 6 into their Niji, which they'll most likely counter out of. And then we'll use that other Dawn to put it onto the Banklei, copying the Ichiji and swinging 8 into the Niji. So that's going to take 2 cards to protect. And they don't have it, so that's great. We're going to go ahead and play out the Sanji for 6 and pass to opponent. Now, this is one of the hard parts about this deck, is staying as healthy as possible before you get to your top end. Opponent taking first away from us was very difficult because we weren't able to hit 10, as we probably would have been able to do that if we hadn't gone second. But, you know, this is something you're going to have to get used to as you play the deck. You're not always going to have a perfect hand. You're not always going to have perfect curves. So definitely remind yourself that, hey, this could happen. Now, opponent's going to swing 7 into our Banklei. I'm fine with that. They can definitely have him. He did his job. And I'm not going to block and give him an event or a 2k here, as that's definitely going to be more useful for protecting life. With 5 Dawn, we could see another play with the Vinsmokes in the garbage here. They could play a baby Reiju and, you know, draw some cards in hand. They could play another Niji just to have that 6k attacker getting rid of our pudding. But we'll really see what they decide to do here. Maybe we'll see a queen blocker or something like that. If opponent dawns up on leader and decides to swing at face, I'm going to protect it because I do want to be at 3 life next turn with our Big Mom play. I didn't know that we were going to draw into the Big Mom. If I did have that in hand, when I filtered life earlier, I probably would have put the baby Ichiji that we put at the last life on the top, just so our Big Mom can hit that when she swings. 3 Dawn open, opponent putting 2 on leader. I'm going to block Sanji here and give him the Flampe just to keep that alive. I'm not quite sure what they want to get with 3 Dawn. It could be a Porsche play, but instead we see the Sanji of their own. So we're going to go ahead and swing 5 at lead here. They should block out with this Sanji, sort of canceling out our swing. If they give us a counter, that'd be great, but we're not that lucky. So next, we're going to try to see if we can starve hand here, because we do know that if we swing at lead, we will see them grab a 2k. So let's throw R6 at that Sanji and see if they want to counter out of it. Great, they do decide to give us a chopper blocker there, which is not going to be something we're going to have to deal with the turn after. So next we're going to play out the Big Bomb, getting a life and trashing that 2k we knew was on their life as well. So now opponent could decide to get aggressive here. They are at 7 Dawn. They could very easily dawn up the Ichiji, the Sanji, and leader and swing at our life. Choosing to ignore the Sanji could definitely be a play for them, as they could probably get us down to 1 or maybe even 0, depending on what we see here. They do use the Germa event, grabbing the 2k Sora. That could grab them the Ichiji baby from garbage if they have a second one in hand. But first they're going to swing 8 at lead. I'm not going to counter out of this because that's a pretty hefty number, and we do get a pudding for our troubles. Now next they're going to swing 10 at lead, and I'm also going to take this as well, getting the Sanji 2k. And we do get another pudding here. What I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to end up playing out the Big Mom here, minusing a Dawn, getting rid of one of these searchers, gaining a life, and putting that Sanji to the top of their life here. Now we're a lot more in the clear to swing at the Ichiji, basically guaranteeing that we'll be able to get rid of it. So we'll go 12 into 7, and we'll most likely get that off of the field. I don't think they're going to have the counter for this, so I don't know what they're really thinking about here. But we are going to go ahead and Dawn up leader next and swing a good 6 at face, giving them that Sanji back most likely. And just in case they have a baby Ichiji, we're going to keep our own Sanji blocker standing. I don't really want to swing with him and have them play out some crazy stuff for 9 Dawn, so we'll go ahead and pass here. Now what I'm looking for is some more top end. We do run a pretty considerable amount of that, and we haven't seen too much of it, but again, this is something that can happen. And here is that Ichiji. I'm very glad that I decided to not swing with our blocker, so we are going to be able to utilize him this turn. Now we know that the opponent's next life is going to be another 2K in the form of that Kaya, and then they have a Porsche here, and then they have a baby Ichiji here. So right now I'm not too worried about what they're going to be throwing at us. This is looking like an 8 and a 9. But it could not be. They could play something out. So I'm just going to go ahead and give them the Sanji for the 8 here. If they decide to go 9, I'm going to take that. We do have a pretty good amount of counter in hand, so as it currently sits, we're going to just see what they decide to do. Yeah, so it does look like it's going to be a 9K, so they're going to throw 9 at us, and I'm going to take that. Looking for top end and not finding it, but we do draw into something, so that's pretty good. We're going to go ahead and swing 9 at this Ichiji, sort of hoping that opponent will give us some counter. That'd be really nice to see them give us a 2K, 1K here, because we're just going to slam the 12 from Big Mom into it, and they do, so that's great. So next, we're going to go ahead and swing 12 at the Ichiji, guaranteeing that it is gone. Next is going to be a 6 from leader. And they give us a 2K there, which is great because now we know that their resource pool is even smaller than it once was. As we play out the mom, get rid of another searcher from hand, heal, and we're going to leave that Kaya alone. It's not doing anything to us now, so... Now, what opponent could decide to do here is play a Judge, but instead they're going to go ahead and play the Sora that they had a second one of and grab a baby Ichiji from the garbage, most likely, and just try to go face again. But it looks like they play out the Sora and don't resolve the effect, which is very strange. And they pass over to us, so I'm not sure if that was a mistake there, but even if they did grab the Ichiji, we did have a 10 mom at the bottom of our life here, and we had a pretty wide board, so we very much could have easily just gone for game and cleaned things up, knowing that there was a 2K, a brick, and a 1K at the end of their life. So GG's to opponent. We'll go ahead and move into our next game here. Moving on to our next game, we have the black-yellow Luffy. I am going to decide to take first here, and we do see a pretty great hand with the Newgate, the 9 mom, and the searcher. So I'm going to go ahead and hold on to this. For 1 Dawn, we'll play out that searcher. We do see some 2K options or a 9 mom. Probably grab a 2K because I know a Luffy's probably going to get a little aggressive here. So we'll pass back to opponent. Would have been great to see that Katakuri, but we will be able to either utilize the Newgate or the Bond Clay. For 1 Dawn, opponent decides to do a search of their own, finding out the structure deck Luffy, and they put 1 on leader for funsies. Next, we're going to go ahead and use all 3 of our Dawn just to give a big fat 8. I don't mind hitting them once here because I do want to get leader ability off. And we see a Beji at the top of life, which is not great. Kind of hope I saw that a little later, but they know that now. They'll probably swing pretty heavy into us. But no, they don't. They decide to swing 5, so we'll go ahead and take it, and we'll Beji leader. So that's great. They do decide to play another Garb Searcher, and they're going to find themselves another Luffy, but this time it's going to be the baby Luffy. We do draw into a 10 mom. We could decide to drop the Newgate here and use leader ability again, which is probably what I'm going to do. We do see some searchers here, so on top of life we'll put the Bonclay, and I think we can just sort of leave this alone. It's probably going to be good to draw into a 2K next, but we are just going to do this for the sake of swinging 5 into the Garp. and flipping the 2 life face up, putting us at 9 next turn, and putting this Big Mom online. So we'll go ahead and pass here, and for opponent going to 6 Dawn, they could finally start playing out the Sabo, or they could just Dawn up the Garp and Leader again and try to throw that aggression our way. We'll really see what they decide to do here. But instead they're going to play out the Kuzan. This Kuzan is basically going to turn the Egghead Luffy online for our new gate. They're going to swing 7 at us, so I'm going to take that here as well and get the Viola. We draw into the Bon Clay. We've got a pretty good hand for counter. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and swing 5 at lead, which they'll take. And we're going to go ahead and drop the 9 Mom here. Dawn -1. We're going to get rid of the Bon Clay, heal, and put the Kuzan to the top of opponent's life. So fortunately, we don't have to deal with that right now, and they're not going to be able to really do anything with that unless they play out a Flampe or perhaps a Makino. But opponent does have a pretty big hand here. I think we can start to get a little aggressive soon, as we'll be able to play the 10 Mom next turn, so maybe we can trick them into taking some life and then getting rid of the last one and putting out a pretty big hit. Opponent's going to be on 8 Dawn here. We could see another Kuzan come out, but instead we're going to see some Dawn on Garp for a 5k. I'm not really too crazy about taking this, so I'll give them the other Bon Clay, as I don't think we're going to need that. For 5 Dawn, they could play out the Sabo, or they could go pretty heavy on lead. And another 5, I'll take this one just to see what the life is, and it is a Sanji blocker, so we do have some blocker options moving on to later in the game. So they are going to play the Sabo, filtering their hand, putting some of those brothers in trash, so they're able to get leader ability online later. I think what a good play for us is going to be is perhaps maybe just the 5 here. And we're also going to swing 7 here as well. But the only problem I think we might have is now that we have the Sabo here, they probably would just block it with our 9k swing. But instead we do get 2 cards out of hand, so that's going to be great. We are going to just swing 9 into the Garp just to get rid of that. And we'll go ahead and play out the 10 Mom, gain a life, trash one of theirs. And the good thing about that is it was a Gecko, so. But seeing as big as a hand as they have, and especially since they did get to filter it a bit with the Sabo, they're most likely seeing all of their pieces now moving in on 10 Dawn. They'll probably be able to get rid of that last life and start doing the leader ability. But we're going to have some blockers ready. We do have a pretty big board, so you know we could be fine from all this. And here we go. Opponent is going to take that life with the Flampe. They're going to put 2 on leader. We're most likely going to see some Sabo come out of hand, as they're not able to really do anything with this Rocket Luffy. They could also play an ace, but looking at the card they trash, it is going to be the Sabo, and they are going to play out the Luffy and Sabo now. So they might not even play out both, because we do have some big swings, but with 2 blockers, I think they should be fine. At this point of the game, it's really just going to boil down to how much cards we can trim from this hand. As, you know, going from 11 now to 7, we're just going to try to stay alive as long as possible while they keep getting their leader at 9k and blocking up with these Sabos. So a leader could just swing into our new gate or Mom here. Depending on which they decide to do, we may try to save that. So it is going to be the new gate. I'm going to let that go. The good news is that we were able to protect life from them not really caring too much about it. So we could put out some blockers of our own here, but let's put down 1 blocker. So we'll go pretty aggressive on swings. So we'll go ahead and put 3 on our big bomb here and swing 12 at face. We'll definitely get a blocker for that. Perfect. And then we're going to put 5 here, and we're going to go ahead and swing 10 next. Now, I could have gone 10, 12, which probably would have been better, but they're most likely just going to give us a 2K here for this. As the 12 mom attack is most likely going to eat up the second Sabo here. And now we're just going to go ahead and play our Viola, flip our life face down for the fun, and pass back to opponent. So they're going to have to use leader ability again. They could play out a Gecko and get back the Sabo that they used. They did have to hard cast the other one, so it looks like in trash right now we're really only seeing 1 Sabo. But with 7 cards in hand, they definitely could have another one. They're going to start off with an 8K at us. We're going to take that because we do want to use this Viola, but they could play a Luffy, so it's tough. It is tough. You know what? I will decide to block this one, because if they do play a Luffy, they'll just get rid of the Viola, and we didn't really get any of the value from it. So 2K on leader, 8K active. I think we all know what's going to happen here. Most likely a Gecko coming out. Would be really great to see another big mom right now. Or a 9 mom even, just to put something back on life, make things a little awkward for them. But with this Luffy running around, they'll be able to trash it pretty easily. And there is the Gecko. They are going to play out the Sabo they trashed for leader ability, and the Sabo that they had used before as well, to block her up again and put us in another situation where we have to clear them and stay healthy as well while keeping these moms here. Now, we could see the Luffy swipe at the 9 mom, in which case, if they do, I will defend that because I do want her as an attacker next turn. It would be pretty great to see a Viola from draw here as well. But no, they are going to swing into the 9 mom, so we'll give him a 2K, and we'll give him the Katakuri as well. And we do draw into another Katakuri, which is not the greatest for us, not really what I wanted to see. So we're probably going to have a similar turn as last turn. I'm only really able to get 9, because I do want to use 6 for the Sanji. So we will put 4 on leader, and we will swing 9 at the Luffy. That's going to get us a 2K. I doubt they're going to let that go. Oh, they do let it go, so that's good. Next, we're going to go ahead and just swing 9 at face. If they give us a card, that's fine. I don't mind. We're just really trying to get their hand down as low as possible. And now they're just going to give us a Sabo for this 12. And we'll play out the Sanji blocker and pass over to them. So opponent is slowly running out of resources. Again, the key word here is slowly. They do have this 9 Moria to swing into our rested units. But instead, they're just going to go face with that. I will take this, and we do see another Sanji from life. Now, opponent's going to do the same thing as before. Unfortunately, we are seeing another 8 Dawn open. The last 4 cards in hand could be a Moria again. I don't know how much we can keep doing here. We've been kind of stalling as long as we possibly could, and they play another Moria, so they are going to bring out the Sabo Luffy again. It might be a little too much for us. We'll just have to see what happens. Now, they could not. No, they are. They are going to grab the Sabo. So 2 blockers and a 9K leader. Really tough for us right now. And they do filter hand as well, dropping out a 2K, which sort of tells us that they have a pretty great hand for counter. So we're going to give them a 2 and a 1 here. We really need to keep these swingers open. We do draw a 9 mom, which is really great because we could put the Sabo on life, heal, and then once we inevitably hit, it will go to the bottom of their deck. I think these are the only 2 Sabos they've been working with, so that might be really good for us. So first, we're going to go ahead and put 1 Dawn here and swing into the Moria and see if they give us a 2K for this, which they probably will. They do want to keep as much bodies on board as possible. Trying to close things out next turn would probably be in their best interest. Now, they could think that this is a trick and that I could be going pretty aggressive to face. If I were them, I would hold on to this Moria, but it really is just a race for us to see if we can get rid of all of these cards in hand. So we'll see what happens. They do give us the 2K. That's fine. We are going to next now play the 9 Mom, Return of Dawn, get rid of the Newgate, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to, do we want to get the Luffy on life? Or do we want to do the Sabo? Because when we swing 12, they're just going to, yeah, let's see. You know what? Yeah, let's put the Sabo on life. And swing 12 at the Moria. They're most likely going to block no matter what we decide to do here. Nope, they gave us the last 2 counters. So looks like opponent is going to attempt to go for lethal now. Let's just see if they get it. We do have 3 life. We do have 4K counter. We do run Beji, the ultimate yellow card. So anything could happen here. We're just going to kind of put it up for the fate of the cards to decide. They do rip the Sabo with leader ability. I'm sorry, the Luffy ability. And it looks like they might just play it safe here and maybe put 2 on leader. They're going to start off with a 9. I'm going to take that. No trigger. So we do have 2 more gambles to go here. The next 9, maybe we won't give to them too easily. Maybe we'll give them the Sanji here just so they can commit some more swings. Because if they do decide to throw just 8, I'll counter out of that. Instead, they're going to drop the Garp for 1, revealing a Luffy on life. They are only down to 16 cards, which is kind of crazy. This game's been going on for quite a while, so. They do drop the Luffy for 2. They are going to put 2 on leader and probably ditch that last card to get leader ability off. Would be pretty great to see a big bomb here, as they really only have the 1 blocker. Next, they're going to use Luffy ability, and they're going to play out that Luffy. And they're going to keep themselves at 1 life. And they're going to throw 11 at face. We're going to take that. We do get a pudding only. And with the 8K Luffy here, they're going to throw it at face again. This is their last attack besides a 9K blocker. Maybe we can bait that out. And I think I remember before, we don't have any puddings here. We did do Newgate a while ago, so probably should have remembered that. Oh, perfect, great. They're going to put 9 on us. I don't know how to tell you this, but I do have 10 for that. And that's going to go ahead and close things out, because now we can just go ahead and throw a 9. And opponent gives us the GG. We'll go ahead and give them 1 back. Very close game. And we finish things up with Big Mom as well. This was quite a marathon. Pudding does like a slow game. I think she's really able to utilize all of the cards in her deck to get the most out of a slow game. So this really worked out for us. Opponent did see sort of everything they needed. And I think this is really close, but a great showing nonetheless. So GG to opponent, and we'll move into our next game. And this looks like it's going to be our last game today. We are going to run into the red Zoro that we were worried about. I am going to show this video. I'm not sure how this match is going to go, but I do want to show you what a really bad matchup looks like, and maybe we could get away with the game. They do decide to go first, taking away our curve just to add insult to injury. We'll decide to keep because we do have the Bond Clay, as well as some counter, which we're definitely going to need. Unfortunately, no Searcher on 2 Dawn, so we will pass to opponent here, who is most likely going to play things out. The good news about that is they didn't have anything for 1. We're going to counter this early just because things are going to get a bit crazy later. Starting off, we do have a Rush Zoro, so we're going to have to take that. We do get a 10 Mom, but it's not looking like we have the best hand to ramp to 10 this early. We're going to start things off with the Bond Clay, and we're going to put 1 on our leader here and swing 6 using our leader ability to ramp, looking at the top 2 of our life. They basically only need a 2K to save this, and I'm pretty sure they are if they have it, but they don't, so they let it go. We are going to be at 8 next turn. I really hope we could have gotten to 10. This is definitely a deck that you want to get good things out quick on, but we'll see what they decide to do here, moving into their 5 Dawn turn. Now, a good Zoro against a pudding here is really just going to fill out board and make things really difficult for us to survive. They are going to put 2 on their leader and swing 7 at us. I'm going to give them the event with the Newgate. Again, just trying to stay healthy as much as I can before they start getting wide. We do see the Vista, which is going to KO our Bon Clay. Unfortunate thing there. We are going to go ahead and drop out the 1 cost Searcher. We do see another 10 Mom, which I think I'm going to grab. And we're going to go ahead and maybe just play out the Newgate here and see if we can find a 0 cost event. I could also play out the Sanji for the blocker. But I think I'd rather just gamble with the Newgate, and I'm glad I did. But it looks like the 0 cost was already at the end of our life anyway. The good thing about this is the top of our deck was a Veggie, so we're going to just go ahead and put a 2K at the top of our deck, and we are going to just put the Veggie second to last, because their board isn't too scary, and they could start swinging with leader before they start playing bodies. Next, we're going to put 1 on lead and swing 6 at face, as next turn is going to be a big bomb for us. Now, opponent is going to move into their 7 Dawn turn. They do have the Vista. This could become an attacker if they decide to commit some Dawn to it on top of leader ability. What's interesting is we haven't really seen any of the animal characters come out yet, which is really what makes this deck take off in 08. This is another deck that was being held back by the law. He would just bottom deck everything and sort of call it a day. They are going to swing 6 at us. I'm going to give him a 2K for this. Again, name of the game, stay healthy. I know our hand is pretty thin here, but we're going to start taking some life hits eventually, and I don't think I want to do it this early when we haven't even gotten out of 10 Mom yet. They are going to swing 7 at face. We will take that. And they are going to play the Chopper Blocker. So we're going to go ahead and start by just throwing out a 5 at the Vista. No use using our leader ability because we don't want them to see what they have there. Next is going to be a 7, which they may just block her out of. Hoping they do, but they don't. They do take the hit and put them at 7 cards in hand. Now we're just going to drop the Big Mom, gain a life, trash one of theirs, and just pass over. Now this blocker is going to be great for them to remove the Newgate if that's the route they decide to go in. I personally think that this leader should definitely be as aggressive as possible to face here. But if they do decide to go for board control, by all means, you can have the Newgate. I do not mind. As next turn, we're just going to be dropping another 10 Mom, and we'll most likely get this 12 through if they don't have the blocker face up. So, I mean, they could play another one, 8 cards in hand. It definitely could be there. I don't know if this is really the best showcasing of this deck. I don't want to insult opponent here. I don't know what hands they have, but I think their best bet is to really just swarm board, and we haven't seen that too much yet. Not really a lot of weenies either. These are just some 3-cost characters that they've been putting out, or a 2-cost character, they really want to get their cheap characters all over board as fast as possible. So they are going to Dawn up the Chopper, swing 6 minus the Newgate by 3. We're going to give them a 2K for this one. Make them have to swing with Zoro if they don't have a rush option into face, if they want to try to get a life off this turn. They do drop a Gordon, and they minus the Newgate by 3, and then they play the Marco to just KO it. Now, what opponent probably should have done is put the 1 on Zoro first and swing 7 to our face to pretty much guarantee that I would take that. But I am going to take this anyway, as it really doesn't really matter. But if I decided to 2K out, that would have been really bad for them. I'm going to swing 5 into the Chopper, see if we can get a 2K out of hand. But instead, they just give us the Chopper. Next, we're going to go ahead, and I'm feeling like the top of that life might be good for them, so we'll trash that first. And it was a rush Luffy, so I'm glad we did. And then we'll swing 12 into face, and they'll most likely take this as well. This is looking for our game here. I don't really know if they're going to play out maybe a bunch of blockers to try to save themselves, but I don't know if they can really stop a 12, and maybe a 15. So we may have just snuck away with this one. I was thinking I was going to showcase just how scary this deck would be against us. When they start playing things like the Chopper from 08 that lets them set out an animal from their deck, or if they start swinging with the Hiking Bears, or the Dr. Corehas, where they're able to put extra Dawn on bodies. It just gets a little bit too much for us to handle. Opponent's going to swing 7 at us here. I'm just going to let them have that. We do have pretty good counter in hand, so we are able to counter out of the next 7 with a 2 and a 1. For 8 Dawn, they could play a large body, which would be interesting because, again, I think that this deck really utilizes weenies. And they did have the Kidden Killers and the blocker, so GG. And that is going to do it for us today. That was our purple-yellow pudding deck list. We did see a lot of use out of most of the cards in our list. I think the only thing that we didn't really get to use was the Yamato and the Ace, as they didn't really come up too much. But we did get to showcase why the Newgate is great, and of course the Katakuri being able to put us on 10. The 9 and 10 moms are the stars of the show. The early event searcher or the pudding searcher are also great. We did get some pretty good luck here finding the 0-cost event at the bottom of our life pretty consistently. Outside of that, though, this just is a phenomenal deck to really put the pressure on your opponent, stack a really wide, tall board. I think tall is just the name of the game here. You've got these 9, these 12k swings every turn after you're already getting value from healing yourself. And you can see that this deck is going to be pretty menacing moving into 08. But what do you think? Could we run some different cards? Is your deck list a little different? Did I do any misplays that I could probably do maybe a little bit better with? Just let me know in the comments, and thank you so much for stopping in. I'm very excited to move into our next video. I do have some great decks to showcase in the coming days, and thank you so much for watching. I am Fruit Punch TCG, and you have a great rest of your day.